Hello and welcome back. So I'm going to invite Jonathan Itchon and we are going to talk about healing through discomfort. Hello, hello. Just getting Jonathan on here. Hi.
Hello.
So good to see you, my friend.
Oh, it is so good to see you, and thank you so much for this invitation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's sort of serendipitous, right? So I started doing these interviews and then noticed the theme of, healing and choice and healing through discomfort. And then I noticed that you were doing these really awesome videos talking about like those exact topics. So I want to welcome on Jonathan Itchon, a Detroit-based healer, teacher, and guide within the Mystery School. Jonathan, I always like to start the show with giving a little compliment to just let you know what I love about you specifically. Jonathan, you're somebody who I really admire your reverence. I remember one time we roomed together for a program and I just kind of watched you doing your rituals and you just immediately stepped into this really deep reverence, but you also have this like really fun, stylish, joking, attitude about you. And I really appreciate the combination of that, being able to hold deep reverence and also being able to be in joy and have fun. So I love that about you in particular, Jonathan. Um, so yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And I would love to hear, just to start off, just to let our viewers get a little bit of a story of how you came to spiritual healing, perhaps how you came to the mystery school, if there were other things that you tried, sort of your spiritual awakening journey and what that was like for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that compliment, by the way. And I really feel like I would like to return the compliment before I dive into me, um, because it's a reflection, right? And what I really appreciate and am inspired by through you is that bubbling over of joy that you bring to everything that you do, all dimensions, and the beauty of that joy that you really want to share with everyone. And you share it with me. And so just know that it is received and that I'm honored to
Thank you.
be on this path with you and to share this time with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's something that I think we both try hard at, and obviously we're doing pretty well at.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a process of uncovering, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's always been there. And now we're just bringing more and more of it to the surface.
it
So,
is. It is. That's so true. And I think we're going to talk that might come up in our conversation today, but it is a lot of uncovering what we already were.
mm,
It's just that the stuff gets in the way, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's
Life.
the spring process been like?
So you wanted to know a little bit more about me and what brought me to this path of spirituality and becoming a healer, a guide, a teacher. And, it started when I was very young. And so when I was 4, I had a near-death experience. And I remember there being a marked shift right after that moment of coming back where nothing was the same. The way that the world was completely different. And so there was no easing into it. It was just, there you go. There's a whole new reality for you to navigate. And as a child, I didn't really have words to be able to, understand and to convey it to others or to actually gain support for it. And so I really felt alone in it. And so that led to many years of just trying to cover it up because I could see things and hear things that others couldn't. And so, through getting diagnosed with various, mental health issues, and then also, receiving medication in order to cope with those symptoms, I was able to kind of fit in, kind of be normal. But underneath it all, I was always aware that there was more, that there's more to life, and that there's more to this reality than what meets the eye. And so fast forward to 2014, I was living a great life. There was so many things in my life that should have checked the boxes for making me happy and being successful. But I had this kind of emptiness within me because I felt like I had reached this point of life kind of dodging myself and not really being me fully. And so then I had this sudden desire to start learning more about who I am and who that little boy, what he tapped into at that point of coming back and what that was all about. And if I could use it to be of service, to help others, maybe to help myself understand it now that I'm an adult. And so through a series of events, life kind of fell apart. There was a lot of uncomfortable moments in terms of things that could be viewed as tragic. My grandmother who raised me, she passed. A relationship had just kind of disappeared, just evaporated. And then I was in a head-on collision. My car was totaled. And I could have viewed all of those things as happening to me, but instead I had this awareness that they were happening for me so that I could return back to this awareness of, who am I, to ask that question. And so, from that moment, I really began seeking in 2015. And that led to my life activation in May 2015, Empower Thyself Initiation, June 2015. And that really, set my life on a whole new trajectory in terms of really owning who I am and being able to step more into the fullness, the wholeness, and the greatness of who I am and who I can be, and gaining the tools so that I could really serve others to do that as well, and to open the door for others that are in that process of awakening to find what they're seeking, So that is how I have arrived here today, speaking with you. And
Yeah, that's amazing. There was a lot of things that happened, it sounds like, in your journey that you could have very easily given up, lost hope, or fallen into anger or frustration. I'm sure maybe those were emotions that you moved through, but just you moved through them. You didn't allow those to be stopping points, and that's really amazing. What do you think allowed you to be able to keep going through the tough stuff?
When you're talking about anger and frustration and that whole range of emotions, I definitely experienced those, especially as a child. I could look back at myself as being a very angry and resistant child, because I felt alone, and there were many opportunities for me to check out, like to really not be here anymore. And every single time I got to that place of like, do I really still want to do this and be here? I was just overcome with this sense of I'm here for a reason. And so that was a theme, like throughout my life, that there was just enough of that, kind of, I don't know how you would explain it, supernatural guidance that, just keep going. It will get better. Just keep going. And so looking back, I can definitely see, how there is a bigger picture for me. I just didn't know it at the time. I didn't understand it. But now that I understand more of it, I can see how all of those experiences that I had and all of those emotions that I experienced have really prepared me to be where I am now and to be able to really connect, in a way with my gifts, in a way that I can value them, in a way that I can really honor them, and in a way that I can really use them in alignment with a bigger picture.
Yeah, yeah. Because like it reminds me of like, you said when you were a child and you overcame that sickness, that you didn't have the words. Children don't have that mental complexity to really understand a lot of what's going on in the world. They feel a lot. And that's a lot of, I think, what I see happening in people's awakening journeys and their healing journeys is coming up against these blocks or emotions or different things in their journey where it transcends the mind, you know, where it's like you can get caught up in that mind and the why and the blame and that all those kind of things, but at the end of the day there's often a deeper longing, there's a deeper love, there's a deeper courage, a deeper a pull or a push even to keep moving forward. And it is something that transcends the mind. It is something that transcends logic. And that the first courageous act of leaning into that and allowing yourself to be moved forward by I don't know what this is. I don't understand what this is. I don't have logic. I don't have the words for this. I don't have a construct for this, but this is maybe the most real thing I've ever felt in my entire life. And that first act of courage of leaning into that creates huge shifts, opens so many doors. And if it doesn't open the door, at least stands you up at that threshold of choice, you know, maybe of choice, right? Knocks on that door. And that is scary. It does bring up fear because it's the unknown, right? It's the unknown. It's I don't know what the answer is, but I'm only gonna know if I ask, right?
Right. You know, it's that threshold that you talk about, you know, it's in order for us to step into the new and into what's in front of us, we have to necessarily release our attachment to what is behind us. And so then there's a sacrifice of what we know in order to step forward into what we don't know. And so the mind really has to negotiate that and let go. And so that our heart and our soul can really lead us into that uncharted territory with openness. Because when healing is happening, we're often opened in a way that is new. And like you said, it feels like so real. It's so in alignment, you know, in that moment, we know we're in the right place at the right time. And then, you know, the mind jumps in and it's like, whoa, what was that? Like, was that real? Like, were you just making that up? Were you imagining it? Was it placebo? One of my favorite words when it comes to healing. However, you know, the reality of it, once that reality hits you, you know, you really can't go back. And so it is all about, especially in, you know, my experience as a healer in assisting people in taking those steps forward. Sometimes they're baby steps, and sometimes they are full-on leaps into their healing, but it's all about continuing to move forward, because that is the invitation that healing offers us. The ability to move forward, the ability to become, and the ability to know just how strong and resilient and powerful we are.
Yeah, that's a big shift because, you know, moving into, you know, people who have those questions about, you know, I want to begin my spiritual journey. I want to maybe begin receiving spiritual healing or begin these practices for myself. You know, there's a like there's a belief system maybe of like I think that this might be real, right? I think that there might be something more. And then when you step through that door and sacrifice your old belief systems, what you thought was real, what you thought maybe was the period to your sentence, you sacrifice that, and then you have that firsthand experience. And when you have that firsthand experience, like you said, you know, now you can say, I know that magic is real. I know that there is more to life. I know that I'm not just in my physical body, that there's so much more, going on. I wonder if there's any, I'm kind of thinking of this for myself, and I want to see if you have anything sort of at the ready, anything, you know, for those people who are maybe standing at that precipice or who are wondering about whether or not they're going to take that leap or when they're going to take that leap. And maybe you're dealing with some of that fear or those attachments or things that come up. Anything that you could offer to those people as advice or guidance or anything to help them in whatever is the right move, you know, for them, but to help them through, you know, through that door.
Mm. It's like when it's knocking, or like when that alarm clock is going and the snooze button is broken.
Yeah, and you're pressing that snooze.
Exactly. Well, you know, I mean, what you said about taking that next step, it is all about simply taking a step. You know, sometimes when we're confronted with letting go of that old life, letting go of those old belief systems, those old paradigms of what we know and what we think is real, it can be overwhelming because we're like, wow, like this whole new world could open up to me. And so then that overwhelming feeling of the hugeness of maybe what they feel, you know, stops them in their tracks because they're not sure they're ready for that next big step. But it doesn't have to be a big step for it to be impactful. And so then, you know, discussing it, talking with someone about it, finding out what the options are, you know, not being frozen with, I don't know what to do. And so therefore I'm going to stay in this place of not knowing. It's like seeking the answers, asking questions and receiving guidance, you know, because none of us can do it alone. I mean, I didn't do it alone. I'm going to just venture to guess that you didn't do it alone, Madison. And this is true of just about everyone I know that's, you know, on a path of bringing more light to the world, is that someone at one point needed to offer their hand and say, I know what you're going through and I can help. And so, yeah, and letting down that guard of needing to know everything and realizing, hey, I don't know what's going on. Allow me to find someone that can help. I mean, that's the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you bring in that aspect of service because it is so important. And it's kind of an inherent part of the healing journey. Like whether you're someone who sees yourself as a healer or not, if you are someone who is on a path of coming to understand yourself as a spiritual being, service to others is going to be an inherent part of that, because it will come to a point where the only way that you can learn is through your service to others. And the best teachers that I know are the ones who are infinite students, the ones who are continuously learning, right? And when you really tap into those higher realms and you really know on a real level that we are all connected, that we are all just walking each other home, it serves me to serve you, right? And it would serve you to serve me, you know, for us all to get back home as quickly as possible. But it's this, you know, the Ouroboros, that continuous cycle that just feeds, yeah, that just feeds itself. And again, that might be something that might seem scary, like, oh, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't be here, I couldn't help people. But all it takes is just that little step, you know, just that little step, just that little ask, a little bit of emptying your cup, a little bit of accepting that you don't know what you don't know, and that there's a willingness to receive, a willingness to receive, a willingness to learn. I mean, sometimes a lot of us have a lot of blocks to receiving. That's a whole other conversation, right? Being able to receive, my goodness. Okay, let's schedule you again, Jonathan. We're going to talk about receiving. But yeah, just that one step, and that willingness to receive, and that willingness to commit enough. You know, 1% is progress, right? So that little baby step is sometimes all it takes, and sometimes it's just a message or a question or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I also liken it to when we work out, you know, physically, because in many ways, healing is, you know, spiritually, we're transforming ourselves. We're gaining strength. We're gaining belief in ourselves, endurance, you know, in order to know that when hard times come, when those challenges arise, that we have the ability to move through them, and we have. And so that's how we know. And so same thing with like going to the gym. If my objective is to get stronger and to build muscle in order for me to, know how strong I can be and to make the most of my body, then I'm going to add resistance. I'm going to engage with resistance. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to engage with it so that incrementally, like maybe I'll start with a 5-pound weight and I'll start with 15 repetitions. But then, after that feels good, I'll ask for more challenge and I'll pick up a 10-pound weight and I'll do 10 repetitions. And then I'll allow myself to gain that strength, allow myself to gain that belief in myself, and allow my body to respond to the transformation that I'm desiring. And so, yeah, same thing. With the discomfort of healing, it's about engaging with it rather than trying to avoid it, because it's inherently an uncomfortable process by design. And it's for those fruits of knowing yourself, knowing who you can be, and then being that example to others, that you have done it, so it's possible. So when others ask the question, is this possible, Jonathan? Is this possible, Madison? You can answer from your heart, yes, it is.
Yeah, that was what really moved me into becoming a healer, is seeing that it was possible for myself. And I love that you bring it back to this healing through discomfort. And yes, discomfort, if you are in your comfort zone, if everything is going really smoothly and you're not facing any fears, there's no hiccups, there's no ooh, you're not growing, you're staying stagnant. But if you're facing the fears, if you're coming up against challenges and moving through them, if you're being called to rise up and to be a better person, you are healing. You are evolving. You are progressing. You are becoming a better person instead of just staying in your level, in your comfort zone, where you're not being challenged. Yeah, and it's a lot like weightlifting. It's a lot like exercise, that you're only going to grow by being challenged. So yes, it's part of the structure of healing to be challenged and to face resistance. And the key there is how you engage with that, right? I love how you said that, how we choose to engage that, which of course goes back to choice and lots of things, but it is a choice. It is a choice in how we choose to engage, of seeing this as an opportunity for growth or something that's trying to keep us small.
Hmm.
And discernment is required there. But thankfully, with the spiritual path, that discernment grows, and your ability to understand yourself and the different voices, maybe the different influences that are coming in. Is this my higher self? Is this my negative ego? Is this a challenge that's I'm looking to rise up to? Or is this really like a no from the universe? Is that discernment? Is that really helps?
Yeah, no, and that is what I really appreciate. And this is what initially, set me on a path of seeking a teacher. Because when all of those things happened to me in 2014, happened for me in 2014, I realized that I wanted a teacher, a physical teacher that could help me hone my abilities and also help me to strengthen my discernment, because there is so much stimulation, there is so much information, out there, and there are so many systems, of like how to do it, how to be a spiritual person, how spiritual awakening works. But ultimately, it's an individual, unique process. And so while it's great that a lot of people have had their experiences, and that includes me, I've had my own experience, my objective is to really help people open up to their own unique spiritual awakening and evolution, and their own healing journey and their own evolution as a spiritual being who is in a physical body just for now, so that zooming out to that bigger picture, people can really take ownership and can really feel empowered to engage with their healing journey and to direct it. Because I think that that's also a key in engaging with the discomfort, is knowing that you are directing yourself to that better version of yourself, to that higher version of yourself, to that higher consciousness where you can really ascend past all of the whatchamacallit, static, all of the confusion, the chaos that is always going to be present in our world. So it's really about rising above and being able to see that bigger picture for yourself so that you can engage more consciously with your healing journey and how you want to use your healing journey in service to yourself and to others.
Yeah, that's really the definition of empowerment, of being in your power, right? Is having that responsibility, aka the ability to respond, the ability to engage in any situation and bring the light. And bring the light into that situation, regardless of the chaos, regardless of what's going on, that you can be in your power of the light to bring light more to a situation, to yourself, create growth for yourself and for those around us. Oh, we have a question. Can you see the healing potential in others? Can you expand on this, or what is needed? Oh, the healing. I think everyone has healing potential. I mean, across the board. I mean, everyone needs healing. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't need healing. And everyone has that potential to heal. And I say that with confidence because of what I've healed. Yeah. What do you think, Jonathan?
Well, and there's like two sides to this in terms of the ability to heal. That's inherent within us. You know, all healing is self-healing, and it comes from within us. And so all of us have that potential to heal. And so the question is, how do we fulfill that potential? How do we fulfill that promise within us to heal? And then in terms of healing potential, in terms of becoming a healer, once you experience healing for yourself and you experience that power rising to the surface within you, it necessarily starts to filter and ripple out into your world. And so a healer is somebody that is constantly healing, you know, healing themselves and then sharing that healing with others. And so we all have the potential to heal, and we all have the potential to heal.
100%. 100%. It's kind of it's inherent to who we are, for sure. It's inherent to this human experience, and it's inherent to this all of us being one. You know what I mean? That unity that we all share. This experiment, you know, and if you want to learn more about that experiment, I definitely encourage taking Empower Thyself and receiving that Empower Thyself initiation to really activate your own healing abilities and your ability to be a healing force out there in public, out there amongst others. Because when you've really reached an ability to heal yourself, and you've been able to overcome and heal yourself in a lot of different ways, you become a healing force for others just in your presence. Just in your presence, you become a force for healing, and a force for good, and a force for peace in this world. And so it's 100% possible. And you can learn more about that potential, like I said, in the Empower Thyself initiation. I hope that answers your question. I love that we got a question. I've never gotten a question before.
Thank you for that question, because it's a great question, you know, for me to reflect upon. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Jonathan, I think we're going to wrap up, but thank you so much for joining on. I loved this conversation. I feel like there were many, I'll have to have you back on because I feel like there was many more potentials for this conversation for sure. I love chatting with you. Jonathan, you are based in Detroit. Please tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Yes. So please feel free to follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. I also have a YouTube channel. I am Jonathan. And also I have a website, you know, jonathanitchon.com, where you can learn more about all the services I offer, and also a little bit more about me and everything that that I do here in Detroit to be of service to the community. So thank you so much, Madison. I just love speaking with you, and I love sharing time and this energy with you. And I definitely look forward to doing this again. So, and thank you to everyone that tuned in.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And yeah, I would love to see. Oh, we have another question. Question for Jonathan. What was something you realized or did to bring out your gift of seeing, like when you did as a child? Oh.
Oh.
Tell us.
Do we have time for this, Madison?
I am the master of my reality.
Exactly. We can full time. That's right.
Yeah.
So if this is pertaining specifically to what happened to me as a child,
Mm.
when, like the gates just opened and all of a sudden I could perceive a lot more. Yes. So there was a period of life where that was overwhelming me. And so then, the medications really helped to dull me to the point where I wasn't engaging with them in the same way. But then there came a turning point in my life. I was off medication. I was getting my life back in order. I was getting my health back. And I began to want to see again and want to hear again in the way that I did as a child. And really, a lot of it started to come back online after my life activation. And so, in bringing light within me to these aspects that I had forced into dormancy, I was able to engage with them again from a place of healing rather than woundedness. And I also had the support of my guide and the community in Austin, where I was at the time when I had my life activation, when I experienced the Empower Thyself initiation. And that support, along with the healing and with the Empower Thyself initiation, really helped me to stabilize my own energy so that I could interact with my senses in a more balanced and healing way and with more curiosity rather than fear. And so, yeah, I find that, again, no coincidence that we're talking about this today, that's something that's so important. And so if you are in that position of wanting to open up your gifts, find that support of those that have done it and seek the healing that you need in order to come from a healing place rather than a wounded place.
Definitely the life activation, part 1 and 2, life activation and full spirit activation. I've had a lot of clients that have a lot of their spiritual intuition, psychic intuition really gets amped up with the full spirit activation. And then again, in the Empower Thyself class, we actually teach you tools and techniques and practices to continue awakening those spiritual senses. And we also teach them separately in the spiritual intuition class. But the thing about the psychic senses, and let me know if you agree, Jonathan, is that it's sort of like one piece of the whole package, right? It is the reason that you are going to be able to sense more spiritual or sense more energy, is because of the increased light that you're flowing from the initiation, right? Because you are the tool, right? So if you want to be a tool for sensing, utilizing energy, more higher frequency energy, you yourself as the tool need to be attuned to that. So that's what the life activation, the Empower Thyself initiation does. And then the tools that we teach you as part of Empower Thyself that are also taught in spiritual intuition are tools that you take home and you sort of sharpen your knife. You fine tune your instrument, being your energetic body, yourself, in order to perceive these energies in a different way. So
Yes,
it's all in the path.
it's all there. And just quick aside that with the tools in the Empower Thyself initiation, it really is about bringing in more light, but also clearing away what is blocking the light. And we all have the potential for these gifts, psychic abilities, being able to have extrasensory perception, but it's most often that case of what is blocking it and being able to bring more light into it in a way that is balanced, in a way that feeds more light in all aspects of your life, and in a way that supports you as a multidimensional being. It doesn't just crack you open and kind of leave you hanging, So it's really important to have those tools and to have access to those healings, not only life activation, full spirit, but also galactic activation. That is a whole nother conversation, but
Yeah.
that also
Yeah.
really, that really shifted my psychic awareness to a whole nother level. So yeah, very grateful to this path, very grateful to all of the initiates that have walked before me and that are walking with me today, so that I can be in this place right now of having more mastery of my abilities so that I could use them in service to the light and bringing more light, not only to myself, but to others. So,
yeah, it really is an honor. And I'm so honored to walk this path along with you, Jonathan, as well. Yeah, yes. So thank you so much. This is a wonderful conversation. Thank you again for all this question. I love the audience participation. So this full video will be up on my Instagram page as well as on YouTube. And please, you know, if you're in the Detroit area or anywhere near the Detroit area, please reach out to Jonathan to begin your spiritual path. I am in Boston, Massachusetts. There are Modern Mystery School healers, teachers, and guides all over the world. If you don't know where your local guide is, just reach out and we can put you in touch and you can begin your path of spiritual self-mastery. Thank you so much, Jonathan. This was a riveting conversation and I'm excited to have you back on again soon.
thank you, Madison. Love you.
Love you. Have a wonderful
Yes.
day, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.